Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji Maharaj, Shukrana Guruji Maharaj for blessing us to be here another day so we could learn and get closer to you. Please let me know you can hear me well.
Yes, yes, Aunty, we can. Jai Guruji.
Okay, Jai Guruji Maharaj. So we thought that we should do, thank you for the Sangat suggestion, that we should do a recap of everything that was covered up to today and for Sun to go at a slower pace. So here we are. Who else makes 2 cups of chai prashad? I'm addicted to chai prashad. It must be a past lifetime thing. So, yeah, we'll do it a bit slower today, and maybe just at the end, very quick sharing, if anyone wants to share. But basically, day 1, we covered chapter 1 and 2. It was simple. We got the background of the doctor, Dr. Brian Weiss, and his patient, a special patient. Now, he's been doing this for a while, but of course, this patient changed his life, and he was guided to write this book, which is a true story. So the patient's name was Catherine. His life was smooth, her life turbulent, and he was guided. She was guided by, of course, divine used people to keep telling her to visit this doctor. The signs kept coming, the indications, and finally she did. And in the first day, we covered, he covered about his background, his education. He basically gave us a background of, how he's done the years, the conventional education, and like how he's done all of that. And but nothing had prepared him for what was coming. And of course, a background of her life. But he was saying that he couldn't find the cure. He couldn't cure her based on the events that had happened in this present lifetime that she was visiting him. So then, of course, we find out that there is past lifetimes, and he starts doing hypnosis, and his mind is expanded. He realizes that everything that he was against was exactly real and true. But I love about this author is that he gives us his human, side as well. He speaks of his logic and how, despite everything that he's been shown, he keeps, having this mind interfere with what he's actually experiencing. So, few things that I wrote, and it was shared on the page, but we understand that a lot of the people that were in her past lifetimes are in fact, playing other roles and coming out, and how the souls are all reborn together. There's a reason for everything. At the moment, we don't have the insight, and I feel that it's chosen that we are not seeing that at that time. It's decided by the higher power that we were blind to it at the time, but after, with time and patience, it will come to light. So that was shared. And it reminds me of Maharaj's saying that you people don't know what to ask for. You people don't know anything. You see the wall and I see beyond it. Another point was there is an energy source that surrounds us, obviously Shukrana, that we are blessed to be connected to this energy source, and the light contains the memories, every pain, every level of it, every feeling, every relationship, every conversation. It's all recorded. Everything is recorded. And again, taking us back to Maharaj's own words, I see everything. The lessons learned, blessings are meant to be shared with others and not be kept private. Again, saying of Maharaj, share your blessings. And I've come to understand that the blessings are in fact the inner shift and inner transformation more than ever that causes the outside world to shift, and the magic that happens inside. And this is the wisdom and the learning that we get, and that needs to also be shared, just not the external miracles that we see. No medicine can reach the real roots of symptoms like insomnia, depression. He covers that, and he discusses how he used to prescribe such medication, but he realized after that that was not helpful. And the funny saying of his grandfather, "What the hell," that stays with me always. Don't fear anything, just do it. What have we got to lose? Yesterday, what was covered that I forgot to mention in the page, the most important actually that I forgot to write, was that there are many gods, for God is in each of us. So that was said by the master. Education has been very limited. He covers that again. Day-to-day trauma needs to be recognized and healed as much as the one traumatic event. So a lot of us have let's say one accident happens in our lives, and we think that our fears and our traumas and our beliefs and our conditioning and like the things that we hold on our behavior is because of that one event. In fact, this book has made me go further into my day-to-day upbringing, not in this lifetime, and all the dreams and past lifetimes that Maharaj had shown me. And I realized that actually it was the day-to-day trauma that made me be fearful and not take steps or, have the beliefs that I did. Her intuition telling her not to use her spiritual powers to gain financial reward, that was something that was told to her intuitively, of course, from the masters. And she mentioned that they have much higher meaning. The last point is there's a bright white light. You get energy from this light, energy source that surrounds us. And of course, Maharaj is saying that I am always with you. You are never alone. So actually, there's more. Our task is to learn. Again, examples from Fakir that we had, no judgment, no lust, anger. And they keep talking about this in this book. They keep talking about our task is to learn and to become godlike, loving all despite whatever role that they play. A conscious part of the human would leave the body around the moment of death, floating above and drawn to the energizing light. Despite all the traditions and all the processes that many cultures and countries have, he found that in every experience of her, their lifetimes were different. Her experiences were different, but her afterlife, joining the light, that was all similar at all times. Joining the light, floating above, drawn to the energizing light, and how we get energy from this light. And so where we have left off is the sessions have sort of healed Catherine to a point, and he wonders if this is just from the hypnosis or is it because she was in the presence of the masters that we got introduced to in the last yesterday, in the last chapter. And the doctor talks about his experience of becoming less obsessive. He talks about how he doesn't need to be in control all the times, that this new wisdom and awareness that he has and his horizon expanded. He was open to more possibilities. He was more calm and patient. This book keeps talking about patience. And other recognizing how peaceful he looks. So, other people also can recognize that aura and peace. But what I love again is that he keeps going back and talks about his human experience, that at times he would fall back into the rut of everyday life. And I have to say, I have experienced this myself, that you go back to the everyday life worrying about the usual things. And he talks about how humans forget the experience and they go back into the old habits. But of course, going forward, we have more. I think we're starting my favorite chapters now, and we get introduced to the masters more in the coming chapters. But this today is magical. So much of grace. It's information that we already know. We've heard it from Fakir, but it's just told in a different way, and it's beautiful. So Let's have a sip of our tea and we'll start chapter number 5. Okay. Hope I'm going slow. It must be from a past lifetime that I talk like, so like fast and with such energy. I know I was in one of my past lifetimes, Maharaj showed me that I was a man and I was standing on a stage and I was giving a speech. Sorry, I was a woman in that. And then I had another dream that I was in a classroom. It was like a university classroom with a lot of people, a lot of students, but I was a man in that lifetime and I was teaching, but the system went down, like the computers and everything went down. And I literally said, guys, I want to talk about my spiritual journey. That was what I was shown in my dream. Beautiful, no? And I want to say something. The first day someone shared that they were shown certain dreams and certain lifetimes. And when I started reading this book, I would get reminded of my past lifetimes and write them down if you can. It's related, and this book will make it come to light. But Maharaj told me, son, I will only show you the ones that are needed for you in this journey. And how yesterday, when I finished the book, this kept coming up. I know I'm giving a piece from the end of the book, but it's related. So it's just, I wanted to give that information. So if you get reminded of any of your past lifetimes or any dreams that you have seen of your past lifetime, it's because Maharaj and the masters want you to know it. It has a deep meaning and it's connected to your journey here. And anyway, it'll come to light. So let's not give a lot of that away. Chapter 5. We were still in the middle of the session. Catherine ended her rest and began talking about green statues in front of a temple. I roused myself from my reverie and listened. Reverie meaning my daydreaming, because of course in the last chapter, he got to know about his own direct one-on-one connection from the masters, where they told him that his son and his father are there with them, and he was like hooked. So he was daydreaming, like what's happening? So he wanted more. I roused myself from my reverie and listened. She was in an ancient lifetime, somewhere in Asia, but I was still with the masters. Incredible, I thought to myself. She's talking about previous lifetimes, about reincarnation, and yet compared to hearing messages from the masters, it feels anticlimactic. Like, it feels like disappointing, like, come on, let's talk about the masters, he's kind of saying. He has this humor side to him as well. I was already realizing, however, that she had to go through a lifetime before she could leave her body and reach the in-between state. She could not reach this state directly, and it was only there that she could reach the masters. So she's talking here, the green statues are in front of a large temple building, she whispered softly, a building with peaks and brown balls. There are 17 steps in front, and there is a room after you climb the steps. Incense is burning. Nobody has shoes. Their heads are shaven. They have round faces and dark eyes. They are dark-skinned. I am there. I have hurt my foot and have gone there for help. My foot is swollen. I can't step on it. Something is stuck in my foot. They put some leaves on my foot. Strange leaves. Tannin or tannic acid, which occurs in brackets, which occurs naturally in the roots, wood, bark, leaves, and fruit of many plants, has been used since ancient times as a medicine because of its styptic and astringent properties. So it stops the blood, basically, what they get from the fruits, this liquid. First, my blood was cleansed. This is a ritual before the gods. There is some poison in my foot. I stepped on something. My knee is swollen. My leg is heavy with streaks on it. Blood poisoning. They cut a hole in the foot and put something very hot on it. Catherine was now writhing in pain. She was also gagging from some terribly bitter potion that she was given to drink. The potion was made from yellow leaves. She healed, but the bones in her foot and her leg were never the same again. I progressed her in time. She saw only a bleak and poverty-stricken life. She lived with her family in a small one-room hut without a table. They ate some kind of rice like a cereal, but they were always hungry. She aged rapidly, never escaping the poverty or the hunger, and she died. I waited, but I could see Catherine's exhaustion before I could awaken her. However, she told me that Robert Gerard needed my help. I had no idea who Robert Gerard was or how I could help him. There was no more. After awakening from the trance, Catherine again remembered many of the details of her past life recall. She remembered nothing at all of the after-death experiences, nothing from the in-between state, nothing of the masters, or of the incredible knowledge that had been revealed. I asked her a question. Catherine, what does the term masters mean to you? She thought this was a golf tournament. She was improving rapidly now, but she still had difficulty integrating the concepts of reincarnation into her theology. Therefore, I decided not to tell her about the masters yet. So remember, she could remember her past lifetimes, but not the in-between phase or the masters or any of their messages. Besides, I wasn't sure how you broke the news to someone that she was an incredibly talented trance medium who could channel wonderful, transcendental knowledge from the master spirits. Catherine agreed to allow my wife to attend the next session. Carol is a well-trained, highly skilled psychiatric social worker, and I wanted her opinion about this incredible happening. After I told her what Catherine had said about my father and our son, Adam, she was eager to help. I had no trouble taking notes of every word from the lifetimes when Catherine whispered quite slowly, but the masters spoke much more quickly, and I decided to tape record everything. 1 week later, Catherine came in for her next session. She continued to improve. With diminished fears and anxieties, her clinical improvement was definite. But I still was not sure why she was so much better. She had remembered drowning as Aronda, having her throat slashed as Johann, being a victim of a waterborne epidemic as Louisa, and other terrifyingly traumatic events. She had also experienced or re-experienced lifetimes of poverty and servitude and of abuse within her own family. The latter are examples of the day in and day out mini traumas that also get ground into our psyches. The remembrance of both types of lifetimes could be contributing to her improvement, but another possibility existed. Could the spiritual experience itself be helping? Could the knowledge that death is not what it appears to be contribute to a sense of well-being, of diminished fears? Could the entire process, not just the memories themselves, be part of the cure? Catherine's psychic abilities were increasing and she was becoming even more intuitive. She still had problems with Stuart, but she felt able to cope with him more effectively. Her eyes sparkled, her skin glowed. She had had a strange dream during the week, she announced, but she could only remember a fragment of it. She had dreamt that the red fin of a fish was embedded in her hand. She went under quickly and easily, reaching a deep level of hypnosis within minutes. I see some type of cliffs. I'm standing on the cliffs, looking down. I should be looking for ships. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm wearing something blue, a blue type of pants, short pants, strange shoes, black shoes, and they buckle. The shoes have buckles, very funny shoes. I see on the horizon there's ships. Catherine was whispering softly. I progressed her in time to the next significant event in her life. We're drinking ale, stout ale, so hard, heavy, dark. It's very dark, though. The tankards are thick. They're old, put together with metal stays. It's very foul smelling in this place, and many people are in there. It's very loud. Everybody's talking, very noisy. I asked her if she could hear anybody calling her name. Christian. Christian is my name. She was a male again. We're just eating some type of meat and drinking ale. It's dark and very, very bitter tasting. They put salt on it. She could not see a year. They're talking about a war, about ships blockading some ports. But I can't hear where it is. If they would be quiet, we could hear, but everybody's talking and noisy. I asked her where she was. Hampstead? Hampstead, phonetic spelling. It's a port, a seaport in Wales. They're talking British. She went ahead in time to when Christian was on his ship. I can smell something burning. It's a terrible smell, burning wood, but also something else. It burns your nose. Something in the distance is on fire, some type of vessel, a sailing vessel. We're loading something with gunpowder. Catherine was becoming visibly agitated. Something with gunpowder, very black. You have to move fast. The ship has a green flag on it. The flag is dark. It's green and yellow flag. There is some type of crown with 3 points on it. Suddenly, Catherine grimaced with pain. She was in agony. Oh, she grunted. The pain in my hand. The pain in my hand. There's some metal, hot metal in my hand. It's burning me. Oh, oh. I remembered the dream fragment and understood now about the red fin embedded in her hand. I blocked the pain and she was still moaning. The splinters are metal. The ship we were on was destroyed, the port side. They have the fire under control. Many men have been killed. Many men. I have survived. Only my head in time, letting her pick out the next significant event. I see some type of print shop, printing something with blocks and ink. They're printing and binding books. The books have leather covers and strings holding them together. Leather strings. I see a red book. It's something about history. I can't see the title. They haven't finished the printing. The books are wonderful. Their covers are so smooth. The letters, they're wonderful books. They teach you. Obviously, Christian enjoyed seeing and touching the books, and he dimly realized the potential of learning this way. He seemed to be largely uneducated. However, I progressed Christian to the last day of his life. I see a bridge over a river. I'm an old man, very old. It's difficult to walk. I'm walking over the bridge to the other side. I feel pain in my chest, pressure, terrible pressure, pain in my chest. Oh, Catherine was making gargling sounds, experiencing the apparent heart attack that Christian was having on the bridge. Her breathing was rapid and shallow. Her face and neck were covered with sweat. She began to cough and to grasp for air. I was concerned. Was re-experiencing a heart attack from a previous lifetime dangerous? This was a new frontier. Nobody knew the answers. Finally, Christian died. Catherine was now lying peacefully on the couch, breathing deeply and evenly. I let out a deep sigh of relief. So up to this point, we're just going to lifetimes again and how this doctor can bring this patient from, their youth to, like, he could progress her into the hypnosis session and bring her right to her death, his death experience in this lifetime. I love it from here. It's perfect. I feel free, free, Catherine gently whispered. I'm just floating in darkness, just floating. There's a light around, and spirits, other people. I asked if she had any thoughts about the lifetime that had just ended, her life as Christian. I should have been more forgiving, but I wasn't. I did not forgive the wrongs that people did to me, and I should have. I didn't forgive the wrongs. I held them inside and I harbored them for many years. I see eyes. Eyes. Eyes, I echoed, sensing the contact. What kind of eyes? The eyes of the master spirits, Catherine whispered. But I must wait. I have things to think about. Minutes passed in tense silence. How will you know when they are ready? I asked expectantly, breaking the long silence. They will call me, she answered. More minutes passed, then suddenly her head began to roll from side to side, and her voice, hoarse and firm, signaled the change. There are many souls in this dimension. I am not the only one. I am not the only one. We must be patient. That is something I never learned either. There are many dimensions, I asked her. I asked her whether she had been here before, whether she had reincarnated many times. I have been to different planes at different times. Each one is a level of higher consciousness. What plane we go to depends upon how far we progress. She was silent again. I asked her what lessons she had to learn in order to progress. She answered immediately that we must share our knowledge with other people, that we all have abilities far beyond what we use. Some of us find this out sooner than others, that you should check your vices before you come to this point. If you do not, you carry them over with you to another life. Only we can rid ourselves. And how beautiful that we already have the experience and the learnings from the fakir, and how Maharaj chooses this book to come right after to give us the same messages, but in such a profound way, and a true love, a true story. Only we can rid ourselves of the bad habits that we accumulate when we are in physical state. The masters cannot do that for us. If you choose to fight and not to rid yourself, then you will carry them over into another life. And only when you decide that you're strong enough to master the external problems, then you will no longer have them in your next life. We must also learn not to just go to those people whose vibrations are the same as ours. It is normal to feel drawn to somebody who is on the same level that you are, but this is wrong. You must also go to those people whose vibrations are wrong with yours. This is the importance in helping these people. Incredible, incredible. When I said, this book is life-changing, because a lot of us, including myself, we have this belief that now, of course, our company is important. It's important who we spend majority of our times with, but it's also important to have this balance, as Maharaj says, moderation, to have this balance with also the other vibration, which is of the wrong, they call it here. So this is why we've been blessed with such wisdom and grace of His, so we could share, we could help. We are given intuitive powers. We should follow and not try to resist. We are given intuitive powers we should follow and not try to resist. Those who resist will meet with danger. We are not sent back from each plane with equal powers. Some of us possess powers greater than others because they have been accrued from other times. Thus, people are not all created equal, but eventually we will reach a point where we will all be equal. Catherine paused. I knew these thoughts were not hers. She had no background in physics or metaphysics. She knew nothing about planes and dimensions and vibration. But beyond that, the beauty of the words and thoughts, the philosophical implications of these utterings, these were all beyond Catherine's capabilities. She had never talked in such a concise, poetic manner. I could feel another higher force struggling with her mind and vocal cords to translate these thoughts into words so that I could understand. No, this was not Catherine. Her voice had a dreamy tone. People who are in comas are in a state of suspension. They are not ready yet to cross into the other plane. So this is again that poetic master coming through saying these words, that people who are in comas are in a state of suspension. They're not ready yet to cross into the other plane. Until they have decided whether they want to cross or not. Only they can decide this. If they feel they have no more learning in physical state, then they are allowed to cross over. But if they have more learning, then they must come back, even if they do not want to. That is a rest period for them, a time when their mental powers can rest. I think we can all relate to knowing a case or two, whether within our own families, people who were in coma, many have come back, many have not. And how amazing that, this teaches us why those people have decided or are sent back into the physical state now, and some did not return. So people in comas can decide whether or not to return depending upon how much learning they have yet to accomplish in the physical state. If they feel there is nothing further to learn, they can go directly to the spiritual state, modern medicine notwithstanding. This information meshed nicely with the research being published about near-death experiences and why some people chose to return. Others were not given the choice. They had to return because there was more to learn. Of course, all of the people interviewed about their near-death experiences returned to their bodies. There is a striking similarity in their stories. They become detached from their bodies and watch resuscitation efforts from a point above their bodies. They eventually become aware of a bright light or a glowing spiritual figure in the distance, something at the end of a tunnel. They feel no pain as they become aware of their task on each. They feel no pain as they become aware of their tasks on earth are not yet completed, and they must return to their bodies. They are immediately rejoined to their bodies and once again are aware of the pain and other physical sensations. I have had several patients with near-death experiences. The most interesting account was that of a successful South American businessman who was seen by me for several sessions of conventional psychotherapy about 2 years after Catherine's treatment ended. Jacob had been run over and knocked unconscious by a motorcycle in Holland in 1975, and when he was in his early 30s. He remembers floating above his body and looking down at the scene of the accident, taking note of the ambulance, the doctor attending his injuries, and the growing crowd of onlookers. He became aware of a golden light in the distance, and as he approached it, he saw a monk wearing a brown robe. The monk told Jacob that this was not his time to pass over, that he had to return to his body. Jacob felt the wisdom and power of the monk, who had related several future events in Jacob's life, all of which later occurred. Jacob was whooshed back into his body, now in a hospital bed, regained consciousness, and for the first time became aware of the excruciating pain. In 1980, while traveling in Israel, Jacob, who is Jewish, visited the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron, which is a holy site to both Jews and Muslims. After his experience in Holland, he had become more religious and had begun to pray more often. He saw the nearby mosque and sat down to pray with the Muslims there. After a while, he rose to leave. An old Muslim man came up to him and said, "You are different from the others. They very rarely sit down to pray with us." The old man paused for a moment, looking closely at Jacob before continuing. "You must have met the monk. Do not forget what he has told you." 5 years after the accident and thousands of miles distant, an old man knew about Jacob's encounter with the monk, an encounter that happened while Jacob had been unconscious. Mesmerizing. In the office, pondering Catherine's latest revelations, I wondered what our founding fathers would have thought about the proposition that all humans are not created equal. People are born with talents, abilities, and powers accrued from other lifetimes. But eventually, we will reach a point where we will all be equal. But eventually, we will reach a point where we will all be equal. I suspected that this point was many lifetimes distant. I thought about the young Mozart and his incredible childhood talents. Was this also a carryover of former abilities? Apparently, we carried our abilities as well as debts. I thought about how people tended to congregate in homogeneous groups, like similar groups, people are alike, avoiding and often fearing outsiders. This was the root of this was the root of group hatred. We must also learn not to just go to those people whose vibrations are the same as ours. To help these other people, I could feel the spiritual truths in her words. So again, he's repeating the amazing, profound teaching that came from the masters, that we must learn not to just go to those people like Sangat only, or, I'll just go to satsangs, or I'll just hang out with people who know Guruji Maharaj. We must also go to all other people as well, especially those that are, don't have the vibrations, and it's coded as wrong here, but of course we know better that there's no right and wrong, and it's just different vibration. To help these other people, I could feel the spiritual truths in her words. "I must come back," Catherine resumed. "I must come back." But I wanted to hear more. I asked her who Robert Gerald was. She had mentioned his name during the last session, stating that he needed my help. "I don't know. He may be in another plane, not this one." Apparently, she could not find him. "Only when he wants. Only if he decides to come to me," she whispered. "He will send me a message. He needs your help." I don't know. I'm sorry. I could not understand how I could help. "I don't know," Catherine answered, "but you are the one to be taught, not I." This was interesting. Was this material for me? Or was I to help Robert Gerald by being taught? We never did hear from him. "I must go back," she repeated. "I must go to the light first." Suddenly she was alarmed. Oh, I've hesitated much too long. Because I hesitated, I have to wait again." While she waited, I asked her what she was seeing and feeling. So I just want to stop here. We're getting this scene, a different scene from the in-between state that she's in the state of waiting. And we're also learning that in that state even, there are things you still have to wait, and once you're called, if you hesitate to go, then you must wait again. So we're kind of getting that picture as well from that dimension and that experience. It's not like you just go and go, there's a process also there, and we're getting familiar with that. Just other spirits, other souls. While she waited, I asked her what she was seeing and feeling. Just other spirits, other souls. They're waiting too. I asked her whether there was something to teach us while she was waiting. "Can you tell us what we must know?" I asked. They are not here to tell me, she replied. Fascinating. If the masters were not there for her to hear, Catherine could not independently provide the knowledge. I'm very restless being here. I do want to go. When the time is right, I will go. Again, minutes silently passed. Finally, the time must have been right. She had fallen into another lifetime. I see apple trees and a house, a white horse. I live in the house. I see apples are rotten, worms, no good to eat. There's a swing on the tree. I asked her to look at herself. I have long, I have I have light hair, blonde hair. I'm 5 years old. My name is Catherine. I was surprised. She had entered her present lifetime. She was Catherine at age 5. But she must be there for some reason. Did something happen there, Catherine? My father is angry at us because we're not supposed to be outside. He's hitting me with a stick. It's very heavy. It hurts. I'm afraid. She was whining, speaking like a child. He won't stop till he's hurt us. Why does he do this to us? Why is he so mean? I asked her to see her life from a higher perspective and to answer her own questions. I had recently read about people being able to do this. Some writers recalled this perspective one's higher self or greater self. I was curious whether Catherine could reach this state, if it existed. If she could, this would be a powerful therapeutic technique, a shortcut to insight and understanding. He never wanted us, she whispered very softly. He feels we're an intrusion in his life. He doesn't want us. Your brother too? I asked. Yes, my brother even more. They never planned for my brother. They weren't married when he was conceived. This proved to be startling new information for Catherine. She had never known about the premarital pregnancy. Her mother later confirmed the accuracy of Catherine's revelation. So again, she's being shown a lot of things that she in her present life in that consciousness she didn't know, but she got to know in that hypnosis state. Although she was recounting a lifetime, Catherine now exhibited a wisdom and a perspective about her life that had previously been restricted to the in-between or spiritual state. Somehow there was a higher part of her mind, a sort of superconscious. Perhaps this was the higher self that others had described. Although not in contact with the masters and their spectacular knowledge, nevertheless, in her superconscious state, she possessed profound insights and information, such as her brother's conception. The conscious Catherine, when awake, was much more anxious and limited, much simpler and comparatively superficial. She could not tap into this superconscious state. I wondered if the prophets and sages of Eastern and Western religions, those called actualized, were also to utilize this superconscious state to obtain their wisdom and knowledge. If so, then we all had the ability to do so, or we must so then if so, then we all had the ability to do so, or we must all possess this superconscious. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung was aware of the different levels of consciousness. He wrote about the collective unconscious, a state with similarities to Catherine's superconscious. I would become increasingly frustrated by the uncrossable gulf between Catherine's conscious, awake intellect and her trans-level superconscious mind. So 3 levels we know. Her own conscious, the awake intellect, and her trans-level superconscious mind. While she was hypnotized, I would have fascinating philosophical dialogues with her at the superconscious level. When awake, however, Catherine had no interest in philosophy or related matters. She lived in the world of everyday detail, oblivious to the genius within her. Meanwhile, her father was tormenting her, and the reasons were becoming evident. He has many lessons to learn, I stated in a questioning way. He has many lessons to learn, I stated in a questioning way. Yes, so he does. I asked her if she knew what he had to learn. This knowledge is not revealed to me, she says. Her tone was detached, distant. So clearly we're being shown here that we can only know knowledge about ourselves, and the masters come and give knowledge about the general, like for all. But when he asks about someone else's journey and their learning, she says that this knowledge is not revealed to her. Her tone was detached, distant. What is revealed to me is what is important to me, what concerns me. Each person must be concerned with him or herself, with making him or herself whole. We have lessons to learn, each one of us. They must be learned one at a time, in order. Amazing, right? They must be learned one at a time, in order. Only then can we know what the next person needs, what he or she lacks or what we lack to make us whole. She spoke in a soft whisper, and her whisper conveyed a feeling of loving detachment. When Catherine spoke again, the childlike voice had returned. He's making me sick. He's making me eat this stuff that I don't want. It's some food, lettuce, onions, stuff I hate. He's making me eat it, and he knows I'm gonna be sick, but he doesn't care. Catherine began to gag. She was gasping for air. I again suggested that she view the scene from a higher perspective, that she needed to understand why her father acted this way. Catherine spoke in a raspy whisper. It must fill some void in him. He hates me because of what he did. He hates me for that, and he hates himself. I had nearly forgotten about the sexual assault when she was 3 years old. So he must punish me. I must have done something to make him do that. She was only 3 years old, and her father was drunk. Yet she had carried this guilt deep within her ever since. I explained the obvious. You were just a baby. You must now relieve yourself of this guilt. You didn't do anything. What could a 3-year-old do? It wasn't you. It was your father. He must have hated me then too, she gently whispered. I knew him before, but I cannot draw on that information now. I must go back to that time. Although several hours had already passed, I wanted to go back to their previous relationship. I gave her detailed instructions. You are in a deep state. In a moment, I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1. You will be in a deeper state, and you will be in a deeper state, and you will feel totally safe. Your mind will be free to roam back in time again, back to the time when the connection to your father in your current life began, back to the time that had the most significant bearing on what happened in your childhood between you and him. When I say 1, you will go back to that lifetime and remember it. It is important for your cure. You can do that. 3, 2, 1. There was a long pause. I do not see him, but I see people being killed. Her voice became loud and husky. We have no right to abruptly halt people's lives before they have lived out their karma. And we are doing it. We have no right. They will suffer greater retribution if we let them live. When they die and go to the next dimension, they will suffer there. They will be left in a very restless state. They will have no peace, and they will be sent back, but their lives will be very hard, and they will have to make up to those people that they hurt for the injustices that they did against them. They are halting these people's lives, and they have no right to do that. Only God can punish them, not us. They will be punished. So this was a message from the masters. When the voice is loud and husky, we know that it's the masters telling us that human beings have no right to halt people's lives. Absolutely. A minute of silence passed. They are gone, she whispered. The master spirits had given us one more message today, strong and clear. We are not to kill, no matter what the circumstances. Only God can punish. Catherine was exhausted. I decided to postpone our pursuit of the past life connection to her father, and I brought her out of her trance. She remembered nothing except her incarnations of Christian and as young Catherine she was tired, yet peaceful and relaxed, as if a huge weight had been lifted from her. My eyes met Carol's, his wife, who was also in that room. We were also exhausted. We had shivered and we had sweated, hanging on to every word. We had shared an incredible experience. So this was the end of the amazing chapter 5 with so much of lessons. We still have 10 minutes, so should I start a new chapter, or should we talk about this amazing and the chapter that we just talked about and the teachings, or what do you guys want to do? We can start chapter 6.
Maybe we can start the chapter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chapter 6.
Interesting.
I now scheduled Catherine's weekly sessions at the end of the day because they were lasting several hours. She still had that peaceful look about her when she came in the following week. She had talked with her father on the phone. Without giving him any details, she had, in her way, forgiven him. I had never seen her this serene. I marveled at the rapidity of her progress. It was rare for a patient with such chronic, deep-seated anxieties and fears to improve so dramatically. But then, of course, Catherine was hardly an ordinary patient, and the course her therapy had taken was certainly unique. I see a porcelain doll sitting on some type of mantel. She had quickly fallen into a deep trance. There are books next to the fireplace on both sides. It's a room within some house. There are candlesticks next to a doll and a painting of the face, the man's face. It's him. She was scanning the room. I asked her what she was seeing. Some type of covering on the floor. It's fuzzy, like it is an animal skin. Yes, some type of animal skin covering on the floor. To the right, there are two glass doors that lead out onto the veranda. There are 4 steps, columns on the front of the house, 4 steps down. They lead out to a path. Big trees are all around. There are some horses outside. The horses are bridled to some posts that are sitting out front. Do you know where this is? I inquired. Catherine took a deep breath. I don't see a name, she whispered, but the year must be somewhere. It's the 18th century, but I don't. There are some trees and yellow flowers, very pretty yellow flowers. She was distracted by these flowers. They smell wonderful. They smell sweet, the flowers. Strange flowers, big flowers, yellow flowers with black centers in them. She paused, remaining among the flowers. I was reminded of the field of sunflowers in the south of France. I asked her about the climate. It's very temperate, but it's not breezy. It's neither hot nor cold. We were not making any progress in identifying the locale. I took her back into the house, away from the fascinating yellow flowers, and I asked her whose portrait was above the mantel. I can't. I keep hearing Aaron. His name is Aaron. I asked if he owned the house. No, his son does. I work there. Once again, she was cast as a servant. She had never even remotely approached the status of a Cleopatra or a Napoleon. Doubters of reincarnation, including my own scientifically trained self until the past 2 months, often pointed to the much higher than expected frequency of incarnations as famous people. Now I found myself in the most unusual position of having reincarnation being proved scientifically right in my offices in the Department of Psychiatry, and much more than reincarnation was being revealed. My leg is Catherine continued, very heavy. It hurts. It almost feels like it's not there. My leg is hurt. The horses kicked me. I told her to look at herself. I have brown hair, brown curly hair. I have some type of bonnet on, some type of white bonnet. A blue dress with some type of pinafore on the dress, apron. I'm young but not a child, but my leg hurts. It just happened. It hurts terribly. She was visibly in great pain. Shoe, shoe. He kicked me with his shoe. He's a very, very mean horse. Her voice grew softer as the pain finally subsided. I can smell the hay, the feed in the barn. There are other people working in the stable area. I asked about her duties. I was responsible for serving in the big house. I also had something to do with milking the cows. I wanted to know more about the owners. The wife is rather plump, very dowdy looking, and there are 2 daughters. I do not know them, she added, anticipating my next question, whether any had appeared yet in Catherine's current lifetime. I inquired about her own family in the 18th century. I don't know. I don't see them. I don't see anybody with me. I asked if she lives there. I live here, yes, but not in the main house. Very small. The house is provided for us. There are chickens. We gather up the eggs. They're brown eggs. My house is very small and white. 1 room. I see a man. I live with him. He has very curly hair and blue eyes. I asked if they were married. Not their understanding of marriage, no. Was she born there? Not their understanding of marriage, no. Was she born there? No, I was brought to this state when I was very young. My family was very poor. Her mate did not seem familiar. I directed her to move ahead in time to the next significant event in that lifetime. I see something white with many ribbons on it. Must be a hat, some type of bonnet, with feathers and white ribbons. Who is wearing the hat? Is it? She cut me off. The lady of the house, of course. I felt a bit stupid. It's the marriage of one of their daughters. The whole state joined in the celebration. I asked if there was anything in the newspaper about the wedding. If there was, I would have had her look at the date. No, I don't believe they have newspapers there. I see nothing like that. Documentation was proving difficult to come by in this lifetime. Do you see yourself at the wedding? I asked. She answered quickly in a loud whisper. We're not at the wedding. We can only watch the people coming and going. The servants are not allowed. What are you feeling? Hatred. Why do they treat you poorly? Because we are poor, she answered softly, and we're bonded to them. And we have so little compared to what they have. Do you ever get to leave the state, or do you live out your life there? She answered wistfully, I live out my life there. I could feel her sadness. Her life was both difficult and hopeless. I progressed her to the day of her death. I see a house. I'm lying in bed, lying on the bed. They're giving me something to drink, something warm. It has a mintly odor to it. My chest is very heavy. It's difficult to breathe. I have pain in my chest and my back. It's a bad pain, difficult to talk. She was breathing rapidly and shallowly, in great pain. After a few minutes of agony, her face softened and her body relaxed. Her breathing returned to normal. I have left my body. Her voice was louder and husky. I see a wonderful light. There are people coming to me. They are coming to help me. Wonderful people. They are not afraid. I feel very light. There was a long pause. Do you have any thoughts about the lifetime you just left? That is for later. For now, I just feel the peace. It's a time of comfort. The party must be comforted. The soul finds peace here. You leave all the bodily pains behind you. Your soul is peaceful and serene. It's a wonderful feeling, wonderful. Like the sun is always shining on you. The light is so brilliant. Everything comes from the light. Energy comes from this light. Our soul immediately goes there. It's almost like a magnetic force that we're attracted to. It's wonderful. It's like a power source. It knows how to heal. Does it have a color? It's many colors. She paused, resting in this light. What are you experiencing? I ventured. Nothing, just peacefulness. You're among your friends. They're all there. I see many people. Some are familiar, others are not, but we're there, waiting. She continued to wait as minutes slowly passed. I decided to push the pace. I have a question to ask. Of whom? Catherine asked. Somebody. You or the masters, I hedged. I think the understanding of this will help us. The question is this. Do we choose the times and the manner of our birth and our death? Can we choose our situation? Can we choose the time of our passing over again? I think understanding that will ease a lot of our fears. Is there anyone there who can answer that question? The room felt cold. When Catherine spoke again, her voice was deeper and more resonant. It was a voice I had never heard before. It was the voice of a poet. Yes, we choose when we will come into our physical state and when we will leave. We know when we have accomplished what we were sent down here to accomplish. We know when the time is up and you will accept your death. For you know that you can get nothing more out of this lifetime. When you have time, when you have had the time to rest and re-energize your soul, you are allowed to choose your re-entry back into the physical state. Those people who hesitate, who are not sure of their return here, they might lose the chance that was given them, a chance to fulfill what they must when they're in physical state. I knew immediately and completely that this was not Catherine speaking. Who is speaking to me? I implored. Who is talking? Catherine answered in her familiar soft whisper. I don't know. The voice of somebody who controls things, but I don't know who it is. I can only hear his voice and try to tell you what he says. So we can continue a little bit more because there's more about this special master who's in control, the main master, which we all know him. But or we can just stop here and continue this tomorrow, whatever you say.
Whatever, son, whatever you feel comfortable.
So let's see here. Okay, we'll just go for a little bit more, not too much, so we could learn more about what the master is telling us, and then we'll stop when she goes back into another lifetime, I feel here. Okay. Where was I? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Okay. I knew immediately and completely that this was not Catherine speaking. Who's speaking to me? I implored. Who is talking? Catherine answered in her familiar soft whisper. I don't know. The voice is of someone very. Well, we said this. Who is in control of things. She also knew this knowledge was not coming from herself, not from the subconscious, nor from the unconscious, not even her superconscious self. She was somehow listening to, then conveying to me the words or thoughts of someone who very special, someone who controls things. Thus, another master had appeared, different from the one or several from whom the previous wisdom-laden messages had come. This was a new spirit, with a characteristic voice and style, poetic and serene. This was a master who spoke about death without any hesitation, yet whose voice and thoughts were steeped with love. The love felt warm and real, yet detached and universal. It felt blissful, yet not smothering or emotional or binding. It relayed a feeling of loving detachment or detached loving kindness, and it felt distantly familiar. Catherine's whisper grew louder. I have no faith in these people. No faith in which people? I inquired. In the masters. No faith? No, I have lack of faith. That's why my life has been so difficult. I had no faith in that lifetime. She was calmly evaluating her 18th century life. I asked her what she had learned in that lifetime. I learned about anger and resentment, about harboring your feelings towards people. I also had to learn that I have no control over my life. I want control, but I don't have any. I must have faith in the masters. They will guide me throughout. They will guide me throughout. But I did not have the faith. I did not have the faith. I felt like I was doomed from the beginning. I never looked at things very pleasantly. We must have faith. We must have faith. And I doubt. I choose to doubt instead of believe. She paused. I think we'll stop here because I think we all should just kind of sit with all the knowledge that we got, because this is profound. I know it's something that has been told to us repeatedly, but we need to sit with it. So I'll stop here, and in the next session, I'll read this again, and then we'll continue. So we kind of have her learning of her lifetime. So hope everyone is enjoying. It's life-changing for me. I'll share very quickly that I wondered for 3 years when Maharaj spoke to my grandmother in her house in Iran saying, "We are here to protect you." I always wondered who's we. I wondered for 3 years. And I asked Maharaj, but never did his answer come. And it wasn't until he knew that the time has come. So I understood who the we was. And of course, it's him, and then it comes through different forms. I don't even know where to begin, but to just recap what we've read today. We go through the lifetimes. We understand that human beings have, even though their lifetimes are different, but the experience of death is the same. Not the physical experience, but when they leave the body, that experience, joining the light, is just all the same. And you go directly to the light. And then we learn that while you're in that dimension, in that phase, you're also going through different levels. So the first is the resting phase. You rest. And then you are met with people that you know. And, the masters come to you. And then you go through the learning, and you realize what it is that you have to go back to. You realize what you didn't accomplish in the last lifetime, and we sign up to come back to learn. I'm sure there's more to it, but it comes to light in these books. Again, talks about patience, about faith, trust, and that we have no control over anything. And going back to Fakir, only our train of mind, only our thoughts. And as Maharaj says, positive thinking. Think positive, and the universe will, shift for you when you do. So I will leave it at that. If anyone wants to share something quickly, very quick, please do. And Ekta, please do.
Uh, very quickly, what my message was for today is not just positive souls you have to connect with, but also the negative. It's not negative, basically people who you are feeling intuitively that you're not connecting to their energies, which I'm doing so for about 3 days now. And today I was extremely frustrated and I cried in front of Maharaj and I said, what? I'm sorry I'm using this word, but I said, what shit I'm going through and what kind of karma I have to tackle with this lady. And I just blessed her right now after this session, because I was doing that, as Maharaj always says, you bless, and you ask for the baksh. But I could not, from the whole heart, I could not. And I just did that. So thank you to Maharaj. And we 21 people right now are the ones who are sailing in the same boat. You gave me beautiful answers as to why only five last birds I could see, and why I was not shown beyond, because there's a purpose. Why only five of my last birds were shown to me, and I'm looking forward to more and more coming my way from Maharaj, because this is nothing to be taken lightly. This is huge for me. I'm connecting dots. He's connecting dots for me. I'm so grateful to Maharaj and to all of you for creating this platform, and me, with his grace, joining all of you in this journey. Thank you. Thank you. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji. Yeah, truly Shukrana to Maharaj for having recommended this book. And, at the end of the day, we're all equal, right? But in different dimensions here, and we're all helping each other home. And one thing that Maharaj told me about my father, who is totally different from the father figure that we're conditioned, so different. Let's just put it this way. My father has never, even on my birthdays, have told me happy birthday. However, he's the most loving man that I know. But just because the world tells you that somebody has to be this way, Maharaj has blessed us in such a way to perceive things differently and find that love in the way that that soul knows, and it's so incredible that from this book, we learn in this chapter that she knows that there's a void within that person. That's why that person acts. It has nothing to do with you, It has nothing to do with you. It's so life-changing. It's so freeing. It's like all this, this heavy luggage that we carry. It's Maharaj. It's all Maharaj, just taking this off so we could merge with him. And most likely all of us will just be with him because he wants us to just get rid of all of this so we don't have to come back. Who wants to come back? But hey, if he chooses, it's all his will. He's in control at the end of the day. And it's so beautiful. All we can do is send love. And we learned this in Fakir, because if we do resent someone, if we do just judge someone, then we have to take forms. Probably, I'm just talking with my limited mind, in there, as we learn about the Hindu and the Muslim in the Fakir. We have to come as them to understand that we're all one and equal. And again, this book tells us that we're all going there. So much learning. I really, what Maharaj has guided me is, this was when I was reading Autobiography of a Yogi, is every teaching that you get, meditate. Just sit and meditate. Just let that sink in. And I think Anita said that as well in her recitation. Let it just sit with it. Just be patient with it. Let that sink in. So next time, like if you have a father like me and Guruji tells you that I had to give you such a father, I have to bring these kind of people in your existence and in your journey so you can be godlike. And this book says that we are here to be like him, because we are his channels. We are, as the book says, we are him. God takes form in and he just wants to take over fully, take over this vessel fully. So we have to get rid of all this rubbish and not see your father as he belongs to you and he has this role and this attachment and he has to do this for me and I expect this from him, but as a soul who is going through their journey, and that we must not just go to the people who we vibe with, but also the others. So you can share your, let's say, satsangs. I sit with my father and I'm like, Dad, you know what happened today? I was thinking about this and literally that person appeared. I don't go into Guruji because the moment I say Guruji's name, he's like, I'm walking, you know? But he teaches you, Maharaj teaches you how to speak around these people. So your intention is to help. So we have to, I think one thing that we got from this is not just be among Sangat, not just be around people who we vibe with, but also those who are not in the same vibration. Because I truly believe that we don't even need to speak. Our energies will heal those people because it's Guruji's energies. So please, if you have to share anything else, just one more minute and we will call it a day. I will share the main forms today later on the page. And so we can have the highlighted forms as well. But so much. Sit with it, meditate. Are we good?
Yeah. Thank
Anyone
you,
else?
San.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shukrana Maharaj. Namaste to all and see you tomorrow.
Jai Guruji. Shukrana to you.
Jai,
Beautiful reading.
Jai Guruji Maharaj.